Can you keep yourself busy while I'm gone? Isn't there always? Karen and I are planning to visit Ridingers and the Green Dragon this week. I hope you have enough money on your credit card to handle that. As long as you stay away from diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, you'll be fine. We laughed a little at that. Both of our kids were gone, and being empty nurse, we were doing pretty well. Marcia had never worked. We discussed the possibility of her being employed after the children left, but never came to a consensus. She was content to keep the house in order and go to yard sales and flea markets. Her e-book was stocked with thousands of e-books. Her friend Karen collected cookie molds, coasters, and flat irons. Marcia was only interested in old jewelry. She had a large hand-carved walnut chest in which she kept all her treasures. The value was not in the gems, but in the design and craftsmanship of the pieces. She had done a lot of research and knew what she was doing. The chest was the most important item in her life. Each item had a story to tell. This week I was in Albuquerque. It was a routine trip and everything went according to schedule. It was Tuesday evening and I was waiting for a table at the Holiday Inn Express. "Excuse me, are you eating alone?" It was another clone. He was dressed like me, looked like me, and acted like me. All traveling businessmen are clones. "Yes, the usual. Would you like to join me?" "Sure. Kevin Martin, Kelso Plastics." I took his hand. "John Terrell, Nielsen Machine." We chatted lightly, studying the menu. "How long are you here for, Kevin?" "For a short time this time. I'm flying back to Philadelphia in the morning. I like it when I can finish early." "Interesting. I'm flying out of Philly too, but I'm afraid I'll have to finish a week." "What do you do, John?" "I sell, install, and maintain candy-making equipment. I work in King of Prussia for a company out of the Netherlands." "And you like it?" "Yes, I make good money. 2 kids are in school, and I have a nice apartment in Westchester." "Damn, what a coincidence. I live in Downingtown. Hell, we're neighbors, and I had to drive to New Mexico to meet you." "Are you married, Kevin?" "No, I was widowed about 10 years ago, but I have a steady girlfriend. What about yourself? Married 23 years and looking for another 23? Oh, John, let me show you what I found today. My girlfriend collects fashion jewelry. Every trip I bring something for her. I went a little overboard this time, but it's really nice." I was suddenly very interested in what he was going to show me. He pulled a purple Crown Royal bag from his jacket pocket and carefully dumped a silver necklace in the shape of a zucchini flower onto the table. "It's a Cyrillos turquoise, quite unique. She'll be crazy about it. A little pricey, but she's worth it." "That must be a special woman. How long have you been working with her?" "Almost 3 years now." "And marriage isn't a consideration here?" "No, that's the saddest part. She's already married and doesn't seem interested in changing that. I'm still working on her, and maybe if I keep trying, I'll get lucky." "I assume you've been in an intimate relationship?" "Yes, for 2 years now. We might even have an occasional sleepover." "Her husband doesn't mind?" "God, no, she's scared to death that he'll find out. I think that's what makes their relationship so exciting." "Kevin, you're a braver man than I am. I could never do something like this." "Trust me, she's worth it." Kevin and I finished our meal and said our goodbyes. He never noticed the connection between me and his girlfriend. I didn't ask for his card because I didn't want to give him mine. I flew home Friday on a red-eye flight. Marcia did her Saturday morning shopping, so she wasn't around when I arrived. I unpacked from my trip and just on a whim decided to check out the jewelry box. It had 3 drawers in the front and a lift-up lid. There was a false bottom under the bottom drawer. The zucchini flower necklace was still wrapped in the Crown Royal bag and neatly tucked away in a hidden spot. Along with it lay a beautiful emerald-cut ruby ring that I'd never seen before. I put everything back just as Marcia walked through the door. There was no doubt that as soon as Marcia saw me, she knew everything. Neither of us said anything other than the usual words, "glad to be home" and "glad you're home." I spent the morning doing yard work and the second half of the day sleeping. Marcia stayed away from me all day. Dinner was Chinese food. I asked her how the flea market hunt went, and she asked me how my trip to New Mexico went. We both lied to each other. The evening in front of the TV passed without incident. Sunday morning, Marcia said she was going to visit our oldest daughter, Claire, in Allentown. I was going to clean up the garage. I didn't clean the garage, but I did get all the finances in order. To keep the girls from taking on too many college loans, we refinanced the house. It was now underwater. Getting everything else organized wasn't difficult. I spent the evening looking through and re-evaluating my closet. I was mentally preparing for something, but I didn't know what. Before I went to bed, I checked the jewelry chest one more time. The necklace and ring were gone. When Marcia got home, I was already asleep in front of the TV. She covered me with a blanket and went to bed herself. I drove to King of Prussia in a daze. Fortunately, I had driven that road so many times in the last 15 years that it was like everything was on autopilot. I finished all my paperwork regarding the Albuquerque trip and headed to the main office. 30 minutes later, I received my assignment to Scheveningen. The main office was eagerly waiting for me. I was to head up the manuals and publications department. Perhaps I could have done the job here in the States, but I was better at it there. It was a week before I left. I had a small workload for the rest of the week. All I had to do was bring my deputy up to speed and finalize all the old projects. At home, I spent most evenings in front of the computer. I usually had to make excuses to my wife for working overtime, but now she didn't seem to care. It wasn't commented on in any way. We watched TV together a few times, but that was the end of it. I was dreading some sort of confrontation, but it never came. It was an interesting situation. She knew I knew what she was doing. I knew what she was doing, and I knew that she knew that I knew. And yet neither of us wanted to talk about it. Oddly enough, I didn't care. I wasn't angry. Wednesday afternoon, I spent my time at the lawyer's office. I was giving Marcia the house and half of the savings and checking account. It all added up to a little over $20,000. If she sold the house, the real estate commission would eat up all the equity. I figured she could keep the house if she could get Kevin to move in with her. If he didn't move in with her, the house would probably go back to the bank. I wouldn't let her get anything from my IRA or qualify for my company's retirement plan. While all of this was going on, I was amazed that I was keeping my cool. I wasn't angry, vindictive, or embittered. I felt a certain sense of relief. I don't know why. I did, however, feel the need for a little evil satisfaction. My plane left Philadelphia early Monday morning. I had arranged for my brother, Carl, to come down from Pottsville and drive me to the airport Sunday night. I planned to treat them to dinner at the airport Marriott Hotel. I had reserved 2 rooms so we could all stay overnight. On Thursday, Marcia told me she was going with Karen to Lancaster to visit some antique stores. This gave me time to finish packing and getting ready. I was extremely selective, so unless she was very nosy, she would never notice me leaving. She never asked why I wasn't at work. On Friday, they threw a farewell party for me at work. It was nice to feel appreciated. Friday night, Marcia and I went to Red Lobster. Tensions still lingered, but we managed to get through dinner. Still no confrontation on either side. Saturday, Marcia did the usual shopping and I did the lawn. This would be the last time, so I was figuring out how I would get through the day. I didn't stop for lunch. My wife brought me a cold beer and a sandwich. After a light dinner, I fell asleep in the chair. Sunday morning, Marcia left early to spend the day with our youngest daughter, Lena, in Lebanon. It was time to wrap things up. Carl and his wife, Norma, showed up just after noon. I loaded all my belongings and then brought down Masha's cherished jewelry chest. The squash blossom necklace and ruby ring were still missing. Carl would keep the jewelry box in his possession until I told him otherwise. Just before I left, I called Kevin Martin. "Kevin, hi, this is John Terrell. How's it going?" There was a moment's pause. Fine, John. Are you by yourself?" "Kevin, I just wanted to tell you about the Cub Cadet lawnmower. It's a little outdated, but it still works well most of the time. If you're having trouble getting it started, just pull the plugs out and clean them. Then everything will be fine. There shouldn't be a problem with anything else." "All right, John. Why are you telling me this?" "Just trying to help. I have to go now, Kevin. Have a good weekend." Carl and Norma couldn't keep from laughing. "John, what the hell was that? Was it the same guy who slept with your wife?" "Of course it was. Can you imagine the conversations that phone call will cause? It's going to be hilarious." I set off for my new home early Monday morning and grinned the whole way. I still couldn't figure out why I wasn't upset about the whole situation. I thought the whole thing was a little funny. As the wheels of the airplane lifted off the ground, I felt a huge sense of relief spill over my body. In a moment, I was already working in my new office in Scheveningen. I rented a small cottage in Wassenaar and commuted to and from work on my new 10-speed bike. The company got me a new driver's license, but I preferred the bike. If the weather was bad, I could take the bus. 2 weeks later, I called Carl. I didn't know who else to turn to. John, Marcia is obviously upset, but I have a feeling she saw something coming. Things were tense the last few weeks before I left. We never talked about it, but we both knew it was coming. When did you talk to her? She called me last Tuesday. I think she was looking for her jewelry box, but she didn't say so directly. She kept talking about how you were supposed to call her to straighten things out. She got the divorce papers and got a lawyer to go over them. They're going to make a counteroffer or something. I know she said she doesn't want the house. My attorney has a power of attorney that I've already signed, so she can either sell it or give it back to the bank. I don't care because I don't want or expect to get anything from him. I'll have him send it to an attorney. It was a funny conversation. She didn't apologize or feel the need to defend her act. At least to me. I felt no guilt or remorse. I thought breakups like that were supposed to be very emotional. You two are a couple of cold fish. Carl, I can't explain it. I don't understand myself. Oh, and one last thing. She said there's no way she'll agree to a divorce until she gets her jewelry back. If you happen to talk to her again, tell her there's no way she's getting her jewelry back until the divorce is final. Needless to say, the divorce proceedings did not go well. We fought over the terms for 6 months. She wanted half of my IRA and half of my company pension. She wanted me to pay the mortgage on the house she refused to sell or move out of. She wanted alimony. Big alimony. She was angry that I refused to give her the jewelry back. And Kevin Martin decided there was too much drama and decided to move on with his life. Since all of this started, I've avoided socializing with my daughters. I decided it was time to call Claire. Dad, Lena and I spent the whole weekend with Mom. She told us everything. We understand why you left and none of us blame you for any of it. She's totally upset, but she's too proud to let you know that. She doesn't want a home. She's being a bitch about the divorce because she doesn't want it at all. We've convinced her it's inevitable, but she's having a hard time accepting it. What can I do? I'm not going back to the old relationship. I don't think anyone expects that. However, she is lost as her boyfriend seems to have disappeared. She has no job skills and no job prospects. She doesn't pay her mortgage and has to spend the money you left her just to pay the utilities. Lena has offered to let her move in with her temporarily. You have to throw her a bone, Dad. The lawyer had no trouble negotiating with the bank to repossess the house. It cost me a few thousand, but it was worth it. Carl contacted 2 men in a truck and had Marcia move to Lebanon by the end of the week. The biggest problem was the extra furniture, which eventually had to be sold for pennies. I agreed to provide Marcia with fair child support, and she waived all other demands. The final stumbling block was the return of her jewelry chest. I agreed to this, but only with one final proviso. After paying a hefty VAT, I was able to collect the last parcel I had ever received from my wife. I carefully unwrapped it while sitting on the back patio. Inside the purple Crown Royal package was a beautiful squash blossom necklace. I didn't need it, but I felt it was symbolic. I spread it out on the table in front of me and picked up my phone. Carl, give Marcia back her jewelry chest.